And not just India, not just a billion-strong people. It's actually the world that's watching India. My colleague Akshita Nandagopal spoke exclusively to a former NASA astronaut and the commander of the International Space Station, Chris Hadfield, on India's Chandrayaan-3 mission and what the world is looking at. Let's listen in to some excerpts.
And it's my absolute pleasure to be joined here on India Today by Chris Hadfield, former commander of the International Space Station and author of the Apollo murders. Just to give you a brief sense of all that Chris has achieved, he's flown in 3 missions, built 2 space stations, performed 2 spacewalks, and was the first Canadian to have walked in space. So you'll understand why I'm particularly excited about his new book, The Defector, that is, in fact, releasing on October 10th. That's coming out. Chris, good morning. Congratulations on your new book, and thank you very much for joining us here on India Today. I've been seeing, from your social media interactions that you've been tracking the Chandrayaan-3 moon mission very, very closely. Just so for our viewers to understand from an expert perspective, from your perspective, how hard really is a soft landing on the moon?
Well, thank you and good evening. Yeah, I heard someone say 1 billion cheers for Vikram, and I had my voice as one of those billion cheers. It's immensely exciting, but as you say, it's extremely hard. It's 400,000 kilometers away, and we're landing way down to the south, 70 degrees south. It's as if you were landing on the edge of Antarctica, and you're trying to do it where the final last few meters or few feet of touchdown, you're just counting on the automatic systems. And so there can always be, a boulder in the way or an uneven spot on the ground, even though they've chosen a plateau. And I know that the Russians had no success earlier this week. Remember, they've launched 27 missions to the moon, and they only landed 7 times, and the last one was a failure. So it's still exquisitely difficult. But with the tremendous experience gained in Chandrayaan-1, which helped discover water on the moon, in Chandrayaan-2, which has been mapping the moon ever since, and now with sort of the granddaughter of all of those, of Chandrayaan-3, I'm really optimistic and excited about the landing that's going to be happening just slightly under 24 hours from now.
I loved how you referred to Chandrayaan-3 as the granddaughter of these missions. It's so applique, but I'm going to borrow that phrase also in the next 24 hours. You referred to Lunar 25, and the reason I talk about it right now, Chris, is look, Russia has attempted this, as you said, 27 times. They've got it right 7 times. Now, in the last 50 years or so, we've seen several such soft landings occur. It's 2023, and yet we haven't really been able to master it. Why is that? What makes it so unpredictable or so hard so many years on?
Well, part of it is the nature of the moon itself. If you were going around the moon, the amount of gravity that you feel in different parts of the orbit changes. The moon is a lot more lumpy than the Earth is. It's got big, dense sections. And so that makes orbital prediction more difficult. It's hard to know exactly where you are. There's no GPS. So where exactly around the moon are you? How do you even figure that out? And even though we've taken lots of images from the orbiting vehicles of the plateau that Chandrayaan-3 and Vikram are going to land on, you still don't know the fine details. Imagine if you were trying to land a helicopter somewhere in India and you looked and looked and looked, but then just when you got close to the surface, you had to sort of close your eyes and then just descend the last 50 meters with your eyes closed. It's sort of that level of difficulty. And that's why the engineers at Isro have been working so hard since Chandrayaan-2 to improve all of the systems, to make the landing gear wider and more robust, to try and give extra layers of backup. And it is possible to land on the moon. 3 other nations have done it. And I think India is really poised right now to be the 4th nation in history to land on the moon. The scientific impact of that and the inspirational impact of that for young Indians right across the country. But it all comes down to that last descent and touchdown coming up within a day now.